Did Mario Ferraro quietly have a really good season for the Sharks this year?
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef. Want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. If you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch this on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be doing our season review of Mario Ferraro. Much questioned defenseman for the San Jose Sharks, where we are several seasons in and we still can't decide, is Mario Ferraro good or not? So we're going to get into Mario Ferraro's season, look at the numbers, look at the analytics, talk about if maybe we, myself very much included, might be a little bit too down on Ferraro, and then talk about Ferraro's future with the Sharks. So before we get into all that, I do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So Mario Ferraro, who has been very much the poster child of mismanagement by the Sharks, and I've made my case on Mario Ferraro very clear that while I think Mario Ferraro is a solid defenseman, I think he has been put in a terrible situation by the Sharks because he's been, I'll say it before and I'll say it again, he's been asked too much too soon by the Sharks, right? Just because of as this team crumbled from the, cup chasing teams to the team that we have seen today, Mario Ferraro has had to pick up a lot of slack for the Sharks, right? He's again been asked to do too much too soon, too often, and it's put him in a tough situation as a defenseman of having to play kind of punch above his weight, play too many minutes, et cetera, et cetera. So let's dig into Mario Ferraro's kind of this season, why it might be a sneaky, quietly really good season despite the Sharks team being the Sharks team. So first though, do need to congratulate Mario Ferraro, who did get engaged last week. So congrats to Ferraro. That's awesome. So we love a happy story here at Locked On Sharks. So, but yeah, let's dig into Ferraro's numbers, which were a bit surprising when I kind of dug into them. So, Ferraro's played 78 games. He has 2 years left on his $3.25 million AAV contract. Again, currently holding the record for biggest contract that Mike Grier has given out so far. He had 3 goals this year, 18 assists, 124 shots on goal, played 22.52 average time on ice, Corsi for 44.84, goals for 36.55%. Looking at his athletic card, it's not the prettiest, right? We know his blocks, right? He is one of the best guys, 205 blocks this season. But again, as I kind of say with every player on the Sharks, all the defensive ratings are bad. Like that's just how it is. Because again, when you get outshot every night and you have a minus 150 goal differential, all the defensive numbers are bad, and especially when you play 23 minutes a night, as Mario Ferraro did last year. But we're gonna kind of try to focus on some of the positives here, and especially when you get to Mario Ferraro's offensive output this year, looking at his evolving hockey card. So 23 third percentile played, 1,784 total minutes this year, 1485 even strength, 28 on the power play, 243 shorthanded. 52 percentile, 23 percentile overall, 52 percentile offensive. Mario Ferraro offensive weapon question mark. I think this is kind of the offensive season that we as Sharks fans have been waiting for since his rookie year, right? You were hoping, right? You kind of came out of the gate, you saw a lot of the offensive skills, but Ferraro, again, having to, when you have Brett Burns on the team and you have Erik Karlsson, etc. Like Ferraro is definitely not giving the opportunities offensively this year with so many question marks on the blue line when it comes to creating offense. We saw Ferraro have a really solid season offensively. Goals above replacement were positive. Goals above replacement defensively were also positive. Shorthanded, I still think Ferraro plays way too many shorthanded minutes. And that's something I would like to see whomever the next coach is kind of try to alleviate that problem. But overall, though, when I pulled up the evolving hockey, again, you have to take analytics with a grain of salt, or, kind of keep them in context. But was pleasantly surprised when I saw Mario Ferraro's evolving hockey card this year. And then I was kind of curious, okay, who did he play with the most? So Ferraro played 513 minutes of even strength. So again, he played 1,400 total of even strength. And of that, or about 1,500 minutes, a third of that. Nice. He had 513 minutes, basically third of it, he played with Kyle Burroughs. And that line, that defensive pairing was not too bad. Again, the goals are going to be bad. This team had 100 minus 150 goal differential. But the shots for and shots allowed were 47.4%. Shot attempts, 48%. That's, again, keeping in context for one, this pairing is playing top pairing minutes because that is what the Sharks have to do. Two, those numbers aren't too bad. Like 47% shots, 4%. Like, here's some of the other ones. He played with Ty Emberson. Their shots for percentage was 48.9. Corsi for was 43.4. Minus one goals there. And that was in 200, almost 300 minutes. Jan Ruda, he played 12% or 13% of the time. Shots for 35.6. Corsi for 38%. Then his 9% of the time he played with Vlasic. 39.5% shots for, 40.8 Corsi for, so shot attempts. And playing with Addison, Ferraro had 38.2% shots for, and pairing it, and then 41.5. So again, it's not like you're expecting Kyle Burroughs, to be like some offensive juggernaut that's carrying like this. That defensive pairing played pretty well. Like, I was surprised seeing some of these numbers, especially, again, keeping in context how much Mario Ferraro plays. This year, he, played a butt ton of minutes this year. He's, his time on ice this year did take, pulling up. So, yeah, his time on ice, not quite his high. The 21-22 season in 63 games, he played 23 minutes a night. This year, though, he did set the actual most amount of minutes by playing 1,700 minutes, playing 78 games, the most games he's played in a season. Granted, the 2020-2021 season where he played every game, but of course, only 56 games. So, Ferraro played a lot of minutes and a lot of shorthanded minutes. Easily led the defensive pairings among shorthanded minutes. But we saw a much more offensive Ferraro this season with 18 assists, which sets the most. He had 3 goals, which was behind his pace of 4 goals last year, but he had 21 points. First time he's ever cracked the 20-point mark in a season. We're going to discuss maybe we've been too low on Mario Ferraro if he can keep playing the way he's playing right now. So we'll get to that here in just 1 minute. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. I feel like we're getting ready to have the big Connor McDavid game. Just something to keep your eye on. I think we're gonna have that big Connor McDavid game here really soon. So visit FanDuel.com/locked on and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, so are we, myself included, maybe a little too down on Mario Ferraro? Right, this season, which was bad by again, that's why you have Macklin Celebrini coming. But Ferraro quietly put up a really nice season, right? We saw seeing the offensive game, had 124 shots on goal. Was basically double his career high of shots on goal, right? Again, when you're partners with Brett Burns and you have Eric Carlson on the team, like those guys are going to command more offensive ice time. But Ferraro, you saw kind of be more aggressive offensively. And I thought he did it. I thought he was smart with it for the most part. Again, Mario Ferraro is not Eric Carlson or Brent Burns, but I thought he, was pretty smart with it for the most part. And like kind of picked his spots and picked his battles with it. So again, 124 last year was his season high, was his career high in 66, which was the most since his rookie season when he had 63. That's kind of, we thought that was going to be the kind of the baseline for Ferraro. We were going to maybe see a potential like 30-point type of player from Ferraro. We didn't think the Sharks were going to collapse the way that they did. We knew that was a bad season. We all remember those times. That was pre-COVID. What a time to be alive. When we all thought Mario Ferraro was just going to kind of just take off. But like Ferraro, his points, like he earned those points this year, right? 18 assists, all even strength, like that. None of that is on the power play. Addison and Thrun were the guys who kind of got the first crack at the power play. Ferraro played a little bit on the second line, but that was usually kind of really short, or little bit on the power play, or more of the team kind of transitioning back to even strength and wanting to get Mario Ferraro out there. The shooting percentage isn't going to be great, of course, from a defenseman, but all of his points are even strength. Those are all well-earned, hard fought points for Mario Ferraro. And we know, he's going to block a lot of shots. That's what he does. He's set a career high in block shots this year with 195. The hits are, whatever with the hits, right? 124 hits this year. But if Ferraro maybe has a little bit of this offensive game, and maybe it was just finding the right partner for him, and maybe Kyle Burroughs' physicality and what Kyle Burroughs does. I still think a new system will help these guys a lot tremendously. And I think putting them in a better spot defensively with a new system, and hopefully more offensive players, so that way you're not having to spend 45 minutes a game stuck in your own zone. And that's, but if Ferraro can maybe unlock a little bit of this offensive game, and maybe have more skilled forwards, maybe we're getting the post hype, kind of boom here. Not boom, but maybe we are getting the post hype kind of breakouts from Mario Ferraro, right? And again, he's only 25 and turning 26, and we'll discuss kind of where Ferraro sits here. So he'll be 26 by the time the season starts. We'll kind of discuss Ferraro's future with the Sharks and where he kind of fits in with the Sharks. But keeping in context of how poor this team was, he was not earning a lot of power play time. Or maybe it's just blind squirrel finding a nut because he plays so many minutes, and The Sharks are going to have to score, and he's going to be out there when they score and rack up some points that way. And that's a very possible, like, you play a bunch of you play a bunch of minutes, especially even strength minutes, you're gonna rack up some points here and there. But again, looking at like his evolving hockey numbers, like he's doing positive things in the offensive zone. He's doing positive things in the defensive zone. And I think the key for the Sharks is to find somebody who can help alleviate some of that shorthanded time. That's where you hope healthy Ty Emberson, right? Henry Thrun continues his development. Again, we don't want to put Henry, like we talked about last week with Henry Thrun. We don't want to ask too much too soon from Thrun. But some of these other guys can maybe kind of very Samwise Gamgee share the load here with Ferraro, so he's not trying to do everything and put him in a better position to succeed, right? I think having Matt Benning back, right? Matt Benning's a huge penalty killer. Like having some of these guys back so that Mario Ferraro isn't having to kind of carry this burden that is the Sharks defense right now going forward, and then putting him in a position, right? I don't expect Ferraro to ever be maybe that 30 to 35 point guy that we potentially saw, but can he be a really nice, like, second pairing defenseman who chips in some points here and there, and and kind of has maybe a second half of his career that's much different from the first half once this team starts to get better. And I think that's going to be kind of the question for Mike Grier going forward is, like, what is Mario Ferraro? What can Mario Ferraro be for the Sharks, or is he part of the Sharks' long-term plan? But yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued to see kind of what Ferraro continues to develop. And again, he's going to be 26. We kind of know what Mario Ferraro is, but how can the Sharks kind of get the most out of Ferraro right now? As they're going to have to kind of make a decision on Ferraro, maybe this year, but like the next year and a half, you're going to have to make a decision on Mario Ferraro and what you do with him. And so we'll get to that here in a minute. We'll talk about kind of Ferraro's future and stuff. But I think, though, like, we as a fan base, again, there's two sides to it, right? The Mario Ferraro is the worst players ever put in teal people. And then the Mario Ferraro is a great defenseman. And I don't think he's either of those. I think he's a solid defenseman who's, again, been asked too much too soon and has been put in a terrible spot development wise because as the Sharks have kind of stripped this thing down, he's had to play way above kind of his punching weight here. But I still think there's something there that we haven't quite untapped with Mario Ferraro. So let's talk about his future, kind of what Mike Grier needs to do here. We'll get to that here in just 1 minute. If you need to check off life insurance off your to-do list, Policygenius is the place to go. It saves you time and money and provides your family with a financial safety net. Starting today with Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval with unnecessary medical exams. Policygenius helps you compare options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to talk you through it. You can talk to award-winning agents who will walk you through every process of the step by step. Your work insurance policies may not cover you or have enough protection for your family's needs, and if you leave your job, they probably don't go with you. So Policygenius gives you unbiased advice from licensed expert support team. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/LockedOnNHL or click the link in the description to get your free insurance quotes and see how much you can save. That's policygenius.com/LockedOnNHL. So where does Mario Ferraro kind of fit into the Sharks' plans, right? He's in this no man's land of he's a little bit older than kind of the like he's getting gonna be 26 when the season starts next year. You have guys like Eklund and Celebrini and Smith and Thrun and Emberson who are a little bit older or a little bit younger than him, right? And then you also have your Granlunds and your Vlasics and your Jan Rudas of the world, and well, he's not quite that old. So I'm really curious to see kind of again where Ferraro fits. Right, he has 2 years left on his contract at $3.25 million, and was kind of part of whispers and trade talks last year for teams looking for a defenseman. And while that contract is maybe a little bit pricey for like a fourth or fifth defenseman, right? With the salary cap kind of going up, if a team comes calling for Mario Ferraro, is Mike Grier just going to continually say no? And especially again, right? You have 2 years left, but like after this year, going into the 25-26 season, like that's a huge decision for Ferraro. And I don't expect Ferraro to ever like be maybe he just gets another kind of same type of deal, right? Where it's just like, all right, cool, here's 4 years at $4 million. Because right, we don't expect Ferraro offensively to be one of those guys. But he has had some injury history, especially with the style of game he plays, right? You block a lot of shots, you play a lot of really heavy shorthanded minutes. Like he has had some injury history, and most of that stuff is just kind of bad luck injuries of blocking shots and doing Mario Ferraro things that makes him Mario Ferraro. But like that stuff's gonna kind of add up here eventually, right? And when this deal's done, he's gonna be 28, and like what do you do with Mario Ferraro if next year, right? Maybe he hits like 25 points. You expect the Sharks to be like a smidge better, maybe not the worst team in NHL history that we saw this year, but like a smidge better. You expect some more offensive skill, a new coach, maybe a better system. And Mario Ferraro, continues to play well. And I'm really curious. And you know about the like what he provides leadership wise, great locker room guy. We know all those stories, right, about Ferraro and kind of what he is to this team. So I'm really curious to see kind of what this, or maybe Mario Ferraro is just that guy who is unfortunately just gonna be one of those guys that we talk about as like, oh yeah, I remember Mario Ferraro who was like stuck here during the like one of the worst parts of this organization's history of kind of between the retool Doug Wilson retool era and then the Mike Grier let's burn this thing down and build it up right era. Like he's just going to be kind of the poster boy of that time frame of yeah, poor Mario Ferraro, man. He got the short end of the straw here because never got to play exciting hockey, was on bad teams for his entire career. And the Sharks screwed up his development because they couldn't figure out a path. And I sympathize with that. And maybe Mario Ferraro, I don't he said he wants to be here. He says he wants to continue to kind of be part of the turnaround, be a solution to this team going forward, right? And I believe that. I think Mario Ferraro seems like that type of guy where he's not going to lie about that, right? I think he generally wants to be here. I think he generally likes it here. His very active outdoor lifestyle. If you haven't seen his like camping stuff, it's pretty like he's pretty like rugged out there. He's like going out there with like a knife and a sleeping bag type of guy. And he's like, I'll just make my own my own shelter. But maybe he just likes doing that stuff and playing hockey is a job for him, right? But like I'm very curious to see how Grier kind of handles Mario Ferraro, who's stuck in that no man's land of too old to be with the prospects, too young to be one of these like crafty veterans that you just kind of looking to see what you can trade for, or maybe just ride out their contracts with, like a Mark Edward Vlasic, where like Vlasic's going to get a second contract and it's going to be a sizable contract. It's just, who is that contract from? Right. And another thing to keep in mind is, yes, the Sharks cap space is looking much better now. But again, like, you're going to have to pay Eklund. You're going to have to pay Celebrini. You're going to have to pay Will Smith. You're going to have to, like, these contracts start to add up, and you can't pay everyone. And if you're paying all these forwards that you've spent a lot of draft capital on and developed and stuff, can you afford to pay a fifth defenseman or fourth defenseman, $3-4 million a year? And yes, I know the cap's going to go up, but like, again, you have to, as the cap goes up, you still got to pay these guys at some point. And, you're going to be looking at like the Devils, right? They're paying, Hughes, they're paying, like, they've drafted all these high end guys, and you got to pay them, and you can't pay everybody. And are you going to not pay one of these like guys you drafted in the first round, who are young and going to be finding like kind of hitting their primes, or are you going to spend that money on a guy like Mario Ferraro, who again has been a great soldier, great soldier for the Sharks, has done everything that he's been asked and more, but has dealt with injuries, and will again be 28, turning 29, and going to be looking for probably one nice payday before the end of his career. So I'm just curious to see kind of what the kind of tipping point is for Mario Ferraro, where when is he more valuable to somebody else than he is with the Sharks? So that's going to be it for me today. We'll be back later to continue our 5 episodes, continue working through the draft. Got another draft profile scheduled for you guys. Probably talk about some Will Smith at Worlds here soon. So make sure you guys are following wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter at MyFryHole. Till tomorrow. Bye, friends.